On December 3rd, 1992, the world crossed a digital threshold, one nobody at the time realized would reshape human communication. The very first text message was sent. Just two simple words: Merry Christmas. But how were people communicating at the time of this innovation? And how long did it take for the idea to catch on? Before the dawn of text messaging, people relied heavily on voice calls and written letters. It was a time when you often had to wait for what felt like an eternity for a response. We were still using beepers and pagers, and payphones were a common sight. In fact, even email was still in its infancy, and the idea of sending a short message to someone's phone was unheard of. But the early 1990s saw a flurry of technological advancements that would make texting possible. Mobile networks were expanding, and the first cellular phones were being introduced to the market. These early cell phones were bulky and expensive, but they paved the way for the sleek, high-powered devices we use today. In a small office in the UK, 22-year-old British software engineer Neil Papworth was working on a project that would change the course of communication history: the Short Message Service, or SMS, for Vodafone, a British telecommunications company. Papworth used his computer, not a phone, to send his groundbreaking message, which he sent over the Vodafone network to an Orbitel 901 portable phone owned by Vodafone's Director of Development, Richard Jarvis, who was attending a holiday party. Shortly thereafter, Papworth received a call from the party, letting him know that the outgoing message was a success. At the time, mobile phones couldn't even send messages back yet. It was a one-way technology, an odd limitation, like inventing the mailbox before the letter. For Papworth, it didn't feel historic at all. As he later put it, he was simply getting his job done and making sure the software worked. Proof that sometimes the biggest turning points feel ordinary in real time. The following year, Nokia released the first cell phone that could send SMS text messages. Today, billions of texts are sent daily, and it all started with that simple Merry Christmas message over 30 years ago. So, next time you send a text, remember Neil Papworth and the tiny message that started it all. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1552, Spanish-born Jesuit missionary Francis Xavier dies of illness in China. In 1776, weeks before his famous crossing, Washington makes camp on the banks of the Delaware. In 1839, 30-year-old Abraham Lincoln is admitted to practice law in the U.S. Circuit Court. In 1854, miners clash with government forces in Australia's Battle of the Eureka Stockade. In 1964, the animated TV special Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer debuts on CBS. In 1967, in South Africa, the world's first human heart transplant is performed. In 1984, the charity single Do They Know It's Christmas is released for Ethiopia famine relief. And now it's time for our Today in History quiz. In 1991, American journalist Terry Anderson was released after more than 6 years as a hostage in which country? Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, or Iran? Liked learning about the birth of texting? Then you'll love this one about the legal battle between Apple and the Beatles over music software. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.